You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered, and this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad you're here today. A lot of stuff to catch up on. I want to do some headlines since the last time we talked on Monday, and I hope you got a lot out of that Monday podcast. But we did a deep dive there, and I like doing that. We're going to do several more of that. I've had some people talk about, taking more than just the sometimes taking topics. And I got several topics I want to do some deep dives on coming up. So just be prepared for that. If you have anything you want to question, go to the DougCollinsPodcast.com, the DougCollinsPodcast.com. There's a little email button up there. Just hit that email, and we'd love to hear from you as we go through. So a lot of things going on in the world we're going to get to here in a little bit. The Trump legal fight, the Robert Kennedy presidential campaigns picked a running mate. We got Ronald McDaniels being hired, then fired. We got, the bridge accident in Baltimore. So lots to go here on the Doug Collins Podcast for Wednesday. You stay tuned after the break. We'll be right back and we will get started. Hey folks, when you look out and you see the country and just the disarray it is, you see the Biden administration, you see the wholesale prices have just went through the roof again. Inflation is tearing us up. If you have your finances all impinged in just a few areas, if you're just in stocks and bonds and you're not diversified, I got some news for you. You need a navigator. You need somebody to help you get to where you need to go with those finances. And I can't think of anybody better to do that than my friends at Legacy Precious Metals. You need precious metals in that portfolio. You need gold and silver. And Legacy Precious Metals, the folks there, they're the navigators. They know how to deal with tough times. They know and how to look ahead and take your personal situation and make it something that can be workable for you in the long term, because that's at the end of the day, that's the one you're most concerned about. You need to make sure that your personal finances and your retirement are secure. You need folks like Legacy Precious Metals helping you in that. They will take the time to learn you. They'll learn your finances. They'll learn where your investment goals are, and they'll help you get there. And metals and gold right now, in this kind of crazy inflation, in this kind of crazy economy with the Biden's economy, is just, you need that help. And Legacy Precious Metals is the one to do that. So give Legacy Precious Metals a call, 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can always visit them online at legacypminvestments.com, and you can download their free investor's guide. Legacy Precious Metals, they're the ones you need. They're the navigators to help you through these turbulent times. Hey everybody, Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank all of my listeners, the great Doug Collins Podcast listeners, for your continued support. To thank you, they're offering an overstocked clearance sale right now for the best price you ever use when you use the promo code Collins, Collins, and you get free shipping on the entire order. You get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0, the brand new flannel sheets that just arrived and won't last long. Get six-pack towel sets for only $29.98. And take advantage of the free shipping on large items like mattresses and mattress toppers. 100% made here in the United States and on sale for as low as $99. Everything is on sale, from the brand new kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb, dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, and much, much more. To get the best specials ever, go to the mypillow.com, and use the promo code Collins, Collins, or call 800-986-3994 and use the same keyword Collins, Collins, and get free shipping on your entire order while supplies last. MyPillow products, thank you. Y'all go check them out. All right, we're back. Let's discuss this issue of this bridge collapse. As we started here on Wednesday morning, as predicted, as you could tell this was coming. They unfortunately had to change the search and rescue to basically a recovery at this point for those that are coming in to the ones lost on this bridge. You got to folks, this is a terrible tragedy in which, you look at something that has happened and you think about the workers who are on the bridge filling potholes. Think about that. And all of a sudden the whole bridge just collapses under you. And I've been across this bridge I think anybody who's been around that area traveling north or south, coming there, if you come around, you're trying to get over to the Maryland side, you're just, if you've been on that bridge, you understand it. And I'm one of those, I don't know about you, big bridges, I'm ready to get off them. And it's not that I don't really have a fear of heights. I fly all the time. I do that in the sense now, being by myself up on a bridge, that'd be a different story. But, there's always this sense of trepidation because, you can't make mistakes up there. I mean, if a car swerves and you're in a 2-lane bridge or whatever, there's just nowhere to go. And I think so everybody has these kind of discussions about bridges in their life, but this is just a tragedy for those who are simply working, simply driving in the morning, driving home from work or driving somewhere. And then to have a massive ship hit, really the place that it's supposed to go. Now, everyone, social media, I had a friend that I've known on social media they posted something to the effect of, if you looked at social media and some of the posts, it's amazing how all of a sudden there becomes experts in bridge ship crashes. I don't know if you knew that, but there's a ton of experts out there right now on bridge ship crashes, which there's so many of in history here, that they know exactly why and the what's and the other issues that are discussed here, that they have determined everything from international intrigue to simply this was a catastrophic tragedy that failed. Now, are there plenty of stuff to talk about? Yes. Are there plenty of stuff that the investigation is going to fly out? Yes. And if you look at the videos, you look at the things that are around this video, amazingly enough, and I've never gotten behind, I don't know if this is a constant camera that's on this bridge all the time that is monitored, but this, to have the video in place of this vessel losing power, gaining power, black smoke coming out of the stacks, then losing power again, and then right before it hits the pylon of the bridge, coming back on. I mean, it's just pretty amazing. And also the turn that you can see, literally the turn out of the channel, so to speak, toward what would have been the pylon. It was and then a lot's been reported about the fact it didn't have the pylon protections that some of the other bridges, big span bridges across the world have. I will just say this. Let's give it a little bit of chance. Let's pray for those who have been affected. Let's pray that there is a way to fix this bridge quickly and efficiently to get this port back open. This is whether you got the issues of the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the issue of the Houthis. I mean, this is becoming more and more where people are identifying, just like they did in COVID, that our transportation supply chain is greatly affected by our cargo upon the waters, the ships that you see, these big container ships that are crossing all the time. So let's just pray now that it gets done, that they get the resources they need to get this thing started, to get it cleaned up, to get the investigation, which could take several weeks, and then, prepare to recover bodies, to help those who've been hurt and move forward. And then before some of you who seemingly only have a life of becoming the next expert on whatever happens on the internet, or happens in the world, to become the expert on the Twitter, go outside and take a walk. Pray for those that are involved, and, maybe have the humility enough to say, maybe I'll wait and see what happens, and then I can pick the report of the experts apart instead of starting it out that way. Just a friendly reminder, everybody's entitled to their opinion. The internet's a wonderful place. Do whatever you think you should do. But remember, there's people's lives at stake here. There are people that have lost loved ones. This is an issue that deserves more than just the quick, this is a conspiracy theory, there's no way, where were the pilots? I mean, I've seen so many people, just in general terms, say, well, why weren't the harbor pilots on there? There were 2 of them on the ship that has been reported multiple times, 2 harbor pilots, but yet you still see people posting, why wasn't there harbor ships there? Where were the tugs? Where was this? Why didn't they let again, for some people, I'm not sure they've ever been on a vessel to all of a sudden have I guess you've watched Titanic enough. I don't know what this is. But please, folks, our society is in an uproar enough with the realities of a very dangerous world. Let's at least think about it before we start trialing conspiracy theories or other things that you may think of onto a world that is just, unfortunately, on the tipping scale of chaos because people are believing that, you know, everything is just completely falling apart and that everything is this master sinister plan to it. Now, look, if it ends up that there is a problem after the discussions here and the investigations, then you go after that. You root out if this is a terrorism act. You root out if there's a problem here. But let's try and at least have a little bit of patience going forward here. I'm not sure that's going to be possible for some. But I guess all I can do is ask. How about that? We'll just ask. All right, let's get switch in from the bridge incident to the, interestingly enough, the Trump legal news. He's got several things going on. The biggest of the day is the fact that now his bond case has been dropped, where it's, you know, the hundreds of millions of dollars, although it's just still to me how this is actually going to stand scrutiny in this case. Now, remember, as we go back and we talk about this Trump case here, especially the one that Letitia James brought, this was brought under a very different statute. It was brought up under, and basically what happened before the part that everybody began to know about, which was the case, the trial, which was only about punishment. It wasn't about the innocence of anyone in that Donald Trump or Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. It wasn't about any of that. It was the simple fact that the judge had already declared under summary judgment that all the facts were true. In other words, he committed fraud. Now, this was before they never, all they did was paper law here. This was through the paper filings of the Attorney General's office and assumably the defense filings of the Trump team, and determined that this was fraud. And this has a lot of this comes out of where you saw the evaluation. I think it's a devaluation, but an evaluation of the property at Mar-a-Lago being worth $18 million. If you've ever even seen pictures of this property at Mar-a-Lago, you know that it's worth far, 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 far more than that. And it was really funny to me that over the past week, when everybody thought Trump was going to go bankrupt, before this was reduced, the bond was reduced to $175 million. They were actually saying, well, Mar-a-Lago would be worth, several $100 million. Okay, where were these same people during the trial or before who were saying, he devalued all these properties, but now when it's time to collect money for a judgment that was already predetermined, that you're saying that these properties are now worth more? If the liberal media can get any more tone deaf, I don't understand it. I mean, this is just an amazing discussion into the depths of Trump, derangement here, that they continue to dig this hole, and then they seemingly will hold contradictory statements in the palm of their hand. I just don't get it. And in doing so, make a mockery of what should be true lawfare. My question is how many of these cases has Letitia James brought against any other businesses in New York? Has she just started? Did she do it before? Is this something that is going to become regular? This is why I think the governor of New York had to step in and say, oh, this is a single case. This is just one, where Donald Trump manipulated the system. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. But then you got like Kevin O'Leary and other people in business saying, look, you need to get out of here. Because if she doesn't like you, this is the kind of case that she can bring. And this is what is, again, from the perspective of the left, they believe this is owning or gaining advantage against Donald Trump. And the reality is, from a political side of the house, it's not doing either. It's actually taking away from their case, because the people are actually just not buying it. And when they're not buying it, and his poll numbers continue to go up, this is a problem that is, sort of the reverse in making. You begin to wonder, do they really want to have this? Are they really trying in the back door to actually try and help Donald Trump here? So again, if you're out there with the idea that these are hurting Donald Trump politically, then you got another thing coming. In fact, there's actually people, independents and even moderate Democrats are saying, quit doing this, because we don't like Donald Trump. We're not going to vote for him. But you keep this up. I know friends who are going to vote for him, and they're pushing people back toward him because they understand that a law must be blind, that it actually should not be a prosecutor using a criminal statute or a civil statute to go after a certain individual. This is like picking a law and saying, well, I'm going to go find somebody that's broken. Or it's like a referee that says, I'm going to call a pass interference on this next series of downs. I just got to find out who I'm going to call it against. And then use whatever situation is out there. Maybe that's the best analogy I can use for those who've had trouble following this case and why they don't understand what this lawfare against Donald Trump is about. It's like a referee in a football game saying, I'm going to call holding. I've just got to figure out who I'm going to call it on. And I think that's the problem that most people are seeing as we go forward here in this. But again, from a perspective of the fine being dropped now to $175 million, he'll make the bond. Nothing's going to happen. Letitia James can, hold off on all of her, filings to take away, the cash counts and other filings that Donald Trump, building assets and everything that Donald Trump has. That's all on hold. We do have a trial date, April 15th. He does got a trial date now on a case that has been resurrected on this, quote, hush money case. Again, I'm going to do a whole episode on this one because I think it's something we've talked about before on the podcast. I'll talk about it again. The contortions that had to be made. This is almost like the sexual assault or defamation case that was brought earlier against Trump by Carol, that the New York legislature actually had to rewrite the law so she could bring the case. This one is another one of those situations in which the federal side, which is most of what this deals with, has been said to not exist, and it's been brought under state statute. We'll get into this more later. But again, if the left believes that Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, and even, especially these two cases, we'll get into the Fonnie Willis case in Georgia as well. If these are the best faces to take down Donald Trump, and people believe it's not anything more than what it really is, and that is an attack on him, I can't help you politically, and I can't help you in a lot of other ways. So this is going to be an issue that we're going to see develop over time. We're going to see these cases drawn out, but the next one will be April 15th. I'll promise you we will do an episode on the case in New York to just sort of point out the ideas and all there. Next up, Ronna McDaniel. I've heard of getting a job and then not having a job. I don't think I've ever heard of NBC or these stations hiring a contributor. Now, again, this is a contributor who will go on and talk about issues from a certain perspective. Like when I go on Fox News, or I go on Outnumbered, or I go on Maria Bartiromo's show, or any other show for that matter, Fox Business, go on Newsmax, go on any of them, I'm presenting what I know as a elected official or as an attorney or someone who's been in the military from a perspective of my own perspective. I'm not asking it to be your perspective. I'm not asking it to be somebody else's perspective. I'm asking this to be, I'm interviewed as to what would Doug Collins believe about a certain situation. Now, the left is deathly scared of trying to interfere in any narrative that they don't agree with. Now, you may or may not like Ronna McDaniel, and you may or may think that Ronna McDaniel participated in a tearing down of elections and attacking the 2020 election. Again, it's still amazing to me that nobody still associates the House Democrats who got on the floor, including Jamie Raskin, who tried to have the electoral votes of states dismissed in 2017 in some of the very first very first votes that Raskin ever did from the floor of the House, was discussing how he didn't want electoral count votes from a certain state to be counted. Now, again, there are certain areas that you cannot like Ronna McDaniel. You cannot like her for being a Republican National Committee member. You can say that she was disingenuous, but it is so rich to think that Jen Psaki, Chuck Todd, Mika Brzezinski, and Joe Scarborough, and Rachel Maddow, and all these others, and Lawrence O'Donnell, are so pure in their own opinionated possessions that they don't look and that they've not told the truth. And Jen Psaki better be concerned that there's not a montage of her daily, daily press briefings in which detailed accounts of things that were not true or half-truths or spin were coming from that podium. Yet MSNBC has no problem giving her a nighttime show. Now, I say all of this to just simply say NBC has absolutely no spine. They are the network in which the tail wags the dog. The on-air spotlight people are the ones who control the network. That is why MSNBC is so far off liberal, why their ratings are nowhere close in many segments and hours to the other stations that are out there. It's why CNN and others, when you allow this to get in, people are not tuning in. You're talking to your same crowd. I guess they did not want a voice that may say something different. I was actually sort of, frustrated from a point that Ronna McDaniel on her first interview, which became an interrogation by Welker on Meet the Press, was, basically she sort of backtracked most everything that she had said she believed. She did it all because she was taking one for the team. Now, nobody's happy in this point, but I tell you who's not going to be happy. It's not going to be happy that you're going to look at $600,000 almost easily having to be paid to Ronna McDaniel for 4 hours for a 20-minute interview. That's all that lasted on Meet the Press and 4 days of employment. You're not also possibly for Chuck Todd and many of the others who, in a sense of a hostile workplace, maybe not defamation, but a hostile workplace and others. I mean, again, I think the settlement will be for more than the contract. We'll see how much more than the contract. But again, it just goes to show you that the left has really no sensibilities when it comes to others. If you're wanted on the broadcast, then they're going to put you on if you agree with them. And if you're a Republican, you agree with them even better. Bottom line. That's the way we see it. Last case, I wanted to bring this one up today because this one is one that's very frustrating to me personally. It is a situation that is frustrating only in this sense. It's frustrating in the person that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced it for their presidential running mate is a really, Nicole Shanahan is off the chart liberal. That, from a Republican perspective, I'm sort of happy to see that because now it tells me that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going after Democrat voters. He's going after Joe Biden. The White House has to be furious with this because here is a very liberal, multi contributor to super PACs, Kennedy, Gascon, the DA in LA, who's absolutely just destroyed the legal system in Los Angeles. This is who they have elected or have selected to be their running mate. At a time, there were a lot of Republicans who were actually looking at Robert F. Kennedy because of his vaccine issues, some of his libertarian streaks. That is a possible alternative. There's no reason for a Republican to vote or an independent who leans conservative to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. There's just not. And now he's actually thrown the dagger in there. If you're voting, and hear me clearly, if you're voting as a Republican or an independent who is right-leaning or just an unaffiliated who is conservative in nature, if you voted for Robert Kennedy in this election come November, then you're voting for unlimited abortion. You're voted for a defund the police, empower the basically mob rule that we saw under Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all the stuff that was going on for the last few years, because the running mate that they have picked is one who has funded all of this. And the idea that this is getting him on the ballot in many places because he had to have a running mate is, again, that's their reason for doing it. And maybe she can help fund this because she's having trouble getting funding. But I just have to say, as someone who's worked in criminal justice reform, who's actually fought for people who to have a system that is fair, that have incarcerated people being given rights and abilities to turn their lives around and to come out of prison with skills and opportunities, and having states that have implemented expungement laws and other things that are able to then not take away from their sentence, but after they've committed their time and then after they've done what they were supposed to do, they've been crime-free, to be able to get back into a place where they can get jobs, they can get housing, they can get the stuff that keep them from recidivizing. To have somebody who has funded absolute degenerate prosecutors and that don't prosecute prostitution, burglary, you know, the what they consider low-level crimes, the shoplifting cases. This is just a problem that if you're a Republican or a left or a independent right voter, this is what you would be voting for. So you would throw away almost all your conservative leanings, all of your other issues for what you may see as a independent streak. That independent streak leads you away from conservative values. So as we talk about this, as we move forward, you're going to hear more about this. But again, the idea that this is going to hurt Donald Trump is, I think, over at this point. It may in a couple of places, but very few places. So as we look at this going forward, will Donald Trump be affected by a third-party run? Probably not. The ones that have to be very concerned about a third-party run right now is the White House, is Joe Biden, and the Democrats in these areas. And they're going to have to depend on state-level races and state Senate and U.S. Senate races to actually turn the tide here. So a lot going on this Wednesday. As we go, I wanted to make sure that we touched on the bridge and Trump legal. The Ron McDaniel issue for NBC is going to be a disaster. And then also this Kennedy running mate, more to come on that. We're also going to have more in the near future on the New York case with Donald Trump and the Alvin Bragg. We'll bring that back up from the previous, because now it looks like we do have a trial date set for April 15th on that issue. Literally this week, we got Friday's Finest coming up on Friday. Got a lot more things in the future. So please stick with us, share it, let other people know about the podcast, and we'll be happy to see you next time when we get together for Friday's Finest here on the Doug Collins Podcast.